Hello, Venture. Welcome to People of Venture. I have one of my really good friends here, Jeff Laurence. Jeff, talk to us about your family and about your job and how long you've been doing said job.
My family.
Yeah.
All right. I got 4 kids and an amazing wife. Been married for 25 years.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty amazing.
it's awesome.
She is amazing. They are all doing well. Everybody's healthy. My business, obviously, jail remodeling is my business. We do kitchen and bath construction, and we've been doing that for about 19 years.
So you own this business, jail
Correct.
remodeling.
Yeah.
One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about is, if you don't know Jeff, he's one of the most generous people I've ever met. But you were generous all across the board. I want you to talk about Honduras for a sec.
Okay.
And how much that you have gone down there and what you've done down there, just so people get an understanding before I get into the other generous part.
Okay. My first trip to Honduras actually was with Canyon Creek. Hey. um, so that was in 2011, which was not a great time for contractors. We were struggling financially. It was really a difficult thing to do. I turned to my wife when they made the announcement at church that they were going to go, and I had done short-term missions my entire life. So I had gone back and forth, Mexico, all these other places that I had gone to and stuff like that. But I hadn't gone on a short-term mission trip for a few years, and they announced this trip. And I turned to my wife and I was like, hey, I really feel called to go on this trip. And she looked at me and she was like, how are we going to do that? We had a couple of months where we just had zero income even. And I was like, I don't know how, but I really feel called to go on this, and I think God will provide. And so I went on it. I actually didn't get any sponsors or anything like that. God provided me jobs. I worked, earned the money, went on the trip. And it was horrible. It was raining. We couldn't get the lumber up to the job site with a truck, so we had to carry it by hand. It was a brutal trip. It was probably one of the most difficult trips I've ever been on. But at the end of the trip, this little lady that we had built this house for, and her 3 children, she was holding this kid in her arms. Thanking us for this house, like getting her out. She used to live in the dump in a tarp. And so now she had a building in the middle of the jungle. And she was thanking us, and this little kid got heavy, and I had extra lumber, and I had built bunk beds with some of the team and a little kitchenette. And she put this child down on the slats of the bunk bed because he fell asleep in her arms. And it was the first time that this kid had slept off the ground. And I looked at that and I was like, man, if that's not being a Christian, if that's not showing God's love, I don't know what is. So I made a commitment to God at that point to go on one of these trips every year. And I tell you what, man, God has blessed me completely for making that commitment. I really believe that. So.
Yeah. That is an amazing story. Did you know a year ago we were in Honduras together? Yeah, like exactly a year ago.
I know, it was awesome.
I was holding a sloth.
I wish I was there now.
We were building. Well, I talked to some of the people down there, and
Yep.
they said that it's just as bad down there.
It is.
As
They're
well.
quarantined as well. Yeah.
So how many trips have you made down there total?
Oh.
Because I know that you've gone on some with the church, but I know that you've also done some through your company.
Yeah, I mean, belonging to a church is great, but a church can't just commit to going to Honduras every year. Mm-hmm. So I can't just rely that they're going to go on a trip every year. So I've taken it upon myself and just trying to follow my commitment to God that I would go on these trips. And so we can make them happen without a church. And I honestly strongly encourage business owners to take up that mantle and not rely just on a church to put together some sort of trip like this. You can do it. You have more resources and more decision-making power, and it's easier for you to do it than a church can. So, that was free, as Brandon would say. But So I have gone to Honduras, I don't know, probably like, I think 8 or 9 times since then.
So 9 houses built.
Well, we also went to a few times in Mexico, Cuba, Costa Rica. I've expanded.
Yeah.
um, I would say probably, I think I've built since 2011, I think 11 houses, I think total. Yeah, something like that. I'm not really sure actually, but yeah, I think it's about that.
So where does your sense of generosity come from as a business owner? Because you talk to people that at this time right now, right? Like everyone's
Yeah,
holding on to their money
sure.
super tight, and you could have done that back then and said, "Hey, I'm not going to Honduras. We don't have the money. I'm holding on to it super tight." But you decide to let go, and there are other aspects, and we'll get to that in a sec about the way that you lead your business.
Yeah.
But what is a mindset? How does your faith play into that?
Well, I mean, I think of money differently. Um, First of all, I look at money as just grease. It's just what makes things go. It's just as useful as a hammer or something like that. So if you don't use it, it's not useful. I'm sure there's plenty of business people and investors that would disagree with me. But I also look at it as it's not mine. Um, I mean, dude, God asks us for 10% and lets us use 90% of His money.
Yeah.
So um, I am just supposed to do the best I can with what He's given me and all these gifts that He's given me. So if you're looking at it that way, it's you're not really giving it away. You're just reallocating. So
That's really good. Talk about your business that you have set up. Uh, when someone goes to JL Remodeling and they go upstairs, it looks a little bit different than other places that you would go to. It has a pool table, right? Like
well, yeah.
you have all these things. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Every construction has a pool table. Talk about what was your purpose and planning behind the workspace?
Yeah. So I mean, we were again very lucky and blessed to kind of fall into that situation as far as the space is concerned. I mean, it's 2,500 square feet. I'm a small business. I don't need 2,500 square feet to run run a remodeling company. So what we did is we thought, hey, let's make it into a design center. Let's bring a place, where customers come in and things like that. But in addition to that, I love using the space as a gathering space for guys to come and hang out, for small groups to meet, for game nights, just for community building, really. And that, to me, honestly, secretly, is my true motivation behind having that space. And yeah, you're right. It is pretty nice. If you haven't been there, please come by, stop by anytime. But yeah, it's a great place to hang out. We do have a pool table. It's a conference table that turns into a pool table, so it's dual purpose. But yeah, it's nice. It's a relaxing atmosphere. It's a good place to hang out.
So, as a business owner, you have a lot of employees that are dealing with uncertainty right now.
Yeah.
You might have had some uncomfortable conversations and that. What do you tell your employees during this time? How do you give
Right.
them hope? What are things that you do to because they have to have clear minds. I mean, they're working with
Yep.
machines and tools and everything else. I know that if they're not thinking properly, like they could get hurt themselves. And
Yeah.
so what do you do to engage their minds, but also to help them out during this time?
Yeah, you're right, Chris. I mean, they have to focus on what they're doing because it could be dangerous. Yeah, of course. But yeah, we had a meeting before they shut us down, and basically, I said, hey, this is real. If you feel comfortable, we are okay to work. We can work. We're part of the essential workforce. But if you don't, I want you to be able to know that you can stay home and that your job is still safe. But basically, I told them, let's control what we can control, which means, let's control our customer experience. Let's stay in contact with our customers. Let's tell them what's going on as things change. Let's control our quality. Let's make sure we do the best job we can every time. Just like that's our simple motto. Let's go out and give them some consistency by showing up every day, and so they know what to expect. Because everybody we're serving is in the same boat. Nobody knows exactly what's going on, and that is a very dark and scary place to be. So, yeah, we just try to provide consistency.
This last year has been really crazy for your crew.
Yeah.
Because you're on TV now.
Yeah.
And you guys are cranking out houses left and right to make the demands of the HGTV show, Unsellable Houses. If you haven't watched it, I'm plugging it now.
Yes.
Jeff is on there with his crew remodeling these houses. He took me through one of them, and I was like, I want it. I want this house. They do amazing work. So if you need work done on your house, contact Jeff. But walk us through that, and now everything's coming to a halt. And so are you bringing about training? Are you doing that? Are you, how are you making sure that the success and all that keeps on going?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, our year has been pretty dynamic. We've had a lot of different changes. Our space that we're talking about actually flooded this time last year.
Oh, yeah.
So
oh, man.
Our last 12 months, we've been, out of our space, kicked out for a few months where we had to completely renovate it, even though it only was like a year old. We had to redo it again. We got put onto a TV show. Lindsay and Leslie are amazing to work with, super talented. I'm serious. If you have a chance to watch a show, it really is actually entertaining. Mm-hmm. And then we get hit by a corona. So, we've had this ups and downs year. And at the same time, beginning of year last year, we had a contract with one of the main box stores, and that came to an end. They ended the program, and that accounted for 60% of our business. So we lost 60% of our business to start the year. And I can tell you, at the end of this last year, we actually grew in revenue. So
how do you adapt to change? That's what I want to know. Because some of these
Hourly.
people are not. Some of these people they don't adapt to it, and so they just get stuck. And I remember going through some of those things with you and praying with you of just watching you adapt, and then having one of the best endings of the year ever. Right. And so getting to see that and getting to see you. And the one thing I'll say is, Jeff, I didn't see you waver in that. I saw you adapt. I
kept the wavering at home. But yeah, there is no fail. You just keep going. As a business owner, this environment that we're in, where people don't know what's next. They don't know, do I have a job next month? Do I have a job in 2 months? Am I going to have this money, this revenue? This is a normal set of circumstances for a business owner. We are always in this type of atmosphere. My company could end in 2 months, no problem. But that's always that way. God just keeps on blessing us. I just keep showing up to work. So if you keep showing up, stay consistent, dive into the Word, do your devotionals, talk to God throughout the day. And as far as adapting goes, I don't think I ever get up with a day of this is what I'm doing today, and it actually happens that way.
I have 2 more questions for you. This one I think is kind of important since people have a lot of time on their hands. Something that always comes up in our discussions with each other is, what book are you reading? What book should people be reading right now? It says, leaders are readers, or is it readers are leaders? I always flip them. And so you read a lot of books. And so what book should people they should be reading right now?
I think is a good time, since everybody's kind of contemplative right at the moment. Is this job what I'm going to do next? Do I have a job? Everybody's kind of in that space. It's a good time to tear yourself down a little bit as far as try to figure out who you are. So I love Stephen Sinek's book, Start With Why. Mm-hmm. Our company went through that last year, and we came up with our why as a company. I think that's a great place to start as an individual. It's really just kind of dig deep, and it seems like it's easy to come up with that. But when you start breaking it all down, it does take a little bit of effort. The last one I just finished yesterday was, what was it? I think it was called The Last Arrow. And it was talking about Elijah or Elijah. I always get those two mixed up. Striking the arrows, and he only struck it 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And then instead of keep on striking. And, it talked about that. It's like, don't quit. Keep going. And then the analogy of the arrows, like, is one of the weapons that once it's used, you don't have it anymore. It's not like a sword. So use the arrows. End your life with an empty quiver. And I thought those 2 concepts were pretty amazing.
That is a cool concept.
Yeah.
As always, we want to end this time with hope and give people hope. And you have the opportunity to talk to employees and business owners and everything else. And so what hope would you leave with them today?
Well, I mean, first of all, I would have to say, if you're an employee, be reflective and appreciative. Being able to work for a company and being able to have a job, be thankful. Be really thankful. Go into your job when we come out of this on the other side, and we will. Go into your job of what can I do for this company? Mm-hmm. Change your attitude instead of what the company can do for me. That will serve you well. You will go farther with that.
That's so good.
As far as like with your family, I mean, don't spend time worrying. Honestly, just take this time to spend a little extra time with the kids, maybe, or an extra time with the wife. You will be okay. We will all weather this together. It's not the end. So we will come out on the other side. Yes, we'll have stories of heroism. We'll have stories of death. We'll have stories of tragedy. But we also have all these great, amazing stories where people really stepped up and adapted and created products or created help, created a cure even. So that's, we have a history of doing that in this country and as humans. So I really think that we'll be fine.
Yeah, that's really good. I hope that you didn't miss one of the nuggets that he said, which is don't quit. This is not the time to quit. This is not the time to throw your hands in the air and go, well, I guess this is life now. But don't quit. And almost every single person that I've talked to on this interview, they've said don't quit. And so we are there for you. And we hope that this encouraged you. We hope that it builds up your faith. And thank you, Jeff, so much for your time today. Good friend of mine. Hopefully, if you need remodeling, check out that guy. Also, Unsellable Houses. Check out that HGTV show if you're looking for another show to watch. It is fun. It is entertaining. And so we just hope that you have a great evening. Thank you.